Welcome, Star Babes. It's Under the Stars Babe here, and I wanted to bring you this message, this information I've been going over. I tried doing this taping this morning, and for whatever reasons, it didn't work out, but I'm not giving up. And here I am. Picture this. It's April 2nd, 2025. A sudden downpour hits a regional high school a track meet in Frisco, Texas. Teenagers are scrambling everywhere for cover. A 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, a straight A student, by the way, with no criminal record, runs into a team tent to get out of the rain. Seconds later, an altercation breaks out. A knife is drawn, and 17-year-old Austin Metcalf is bleeding out on the wet grass. Now let's fast forward to June 9th, 2026. A Texas courtroom is silent. The jury comes back after just 3 hours of deliberation. Guilty of murder? Yes. Sentence? 35 years in prison. But here is the shocking twist that the mainstream media is completely glossing over. Within 24 hours of that verdict, Carmelo's legal team filed an emergency appeal. Why? Because it turns out the 12 people who decided his fate didn't look anything like the community or Karmelo. In fact, every single black juror was struck from the panel. So today, we're asking the terrifying question the justice system doesn't want you to whisper. Was this a cut and dry case of murder, or was Karmelo Anthony completely set up by a biased system and a viral wave of online misinformation? To map out how a simple rainy afternoon escalated into a lifetime of destruction, we're going to look at this case through the lens of the Hawking scale of consciousness. We're tracking the exact moment the emotional energy shifted from a minor dispute into a fatal, low vibrational trap. Welcome to the real verdict. Lean in, because what we uncovered in the trial transcripts will change how you look at this case forever. To understand if this was a setup, we have to go back to the mud and the chaos of that track meet. The media painted Karmelo as an aggressive instigator who walked into a tent looking for trouble. But let's look at the actual physics of what happened inside that tent. The parts the prosecution minimized. Karmelo Anthony is 5'8", weighing barely 130 pounds. Austin Metcalf and his twin brother Hunter, they are both over 6'1" and 210 pounds. That is an 80-pound, multi-person size disadvantage for a 17-year-old kid trapped under a canvas tent in the middle of a chaotic rainstorm. If we look at David Hawking's scale, human consciousness operates on logarithmic levels from 1 to 1,000. When Karmelo walked into that tent, the environment was already tense, vibrating at the level of pride, level 175. Territorial high school athletes defending their space. But the moment the confrontation became physical, the energy instantly plummeted into fear, which is level 100, and anger, level 150. The defense argued that Karmelo was swarmed, shoved, and cornered by much larger athletes. Under body cam footage captured by a school resource officer right after the incident, Karmelo's very first words were, "He put his hands on me. I told him no." When a human being is pushed into fear, which is level 100, the brain goes into pure survival mode. The ego perceives a total threat to existence. Before lawyers got to him, before he had a time to even craft a story, his immediate raw reaction was that he was defending his life. But the prosecution told a completely different story. They brought out teenage witnesses who claimed Karmelo operated from a place of malicious anger, level 150, and pride, level 175, taunting the Memorial High School students, allegedly saying, "Touch me and find out," before launching a surprise attack. Under Texas law, you can meet deadly force with deadly force, but the prosecutor hammered home a brutal point to the jury. You cannot meet a shove with a stab. The state argued that no matter how scared Karmelo was, a push does not justify a knife. But when your consciousness is hijacked by level 100 fear, rational thought evaporates. Is a shove just a shove when you're outnumbered and outsized, or does it trigger an automatic response to survive? Let's fast forward to the trial in Collin County, Texas, which just wrapped up. This case became an absolute power keg. Outside the courthouse, protesters were screaming. Online, absolute chaos. The public discourse surrounding this trial has been a textbook of definition of the lowest levels of the Hawking scales. Apathy, which is 50, toward human life, and grief, which is 75, from the community, and rampant, destructive anger, which is 150. There was so much misinformation flying around that the families were getting swatted, receiving death threats, and a gag order had to be put in place. But the real shocker happened during jury selection. Karmelo Anthony is black. Austin Metcalf was white. Attorneys picked 12 jurors and 6 alternates. The final count, 0 black jurors, not a single one. According to Karmelo's appellate team, the prosecution strategically used their strikes to eliminate black jurors. If true, this represents a system operating out of desire, level 125, the desperate craving to win at all costs, masked as justice, by removing jurors who might have understood the racial dynamics and fear present in that tent. The trial was pulled away from neutrality, which is a level 250, or reason, level 400. And look at how fast the jury moved. In less than 3 hours, they rejected the manslaughter and the sudden passion defense. They handed down 35 years. Did they look at the evidence with the analytical reason level of 400 required of a jury? Or were they influenced by the intense right-wing outside noise vibrating at the level of hatred and polarization? When a community is operating in a state of collective anger, true justice becomes almost impossible to find. But we have to look at the other side of this tragedy, because the heartbreak in that courtroom cut deep across both sides of the aisle. When the verdict of 35 years was read, Karmelo audibly sobbed and collapsed into tears, sinking into the devastating weight of grief, level 75, and apathy, level 50, realizing his youth was gone. On the other side of the room, Austin Metcalf's family was living out a lifetime sentence of their own. Austin's mother, Megan Metcalf, stood up during the victim impact statements, looked directly at Karmelo and said, "You may have been given a sentence of 35 years. You should feel lucky. I've been sentenced to a lifetime without my son." That is the profound, heavy energy of level 75 grief. It is a weight that never truly lifts. But then Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, did something extraordinary and completely shifted the energetic dynamics of this tragedy. He has been incredibly vocal, making it clear that for them, this was about wrong and right and not color. But he explicitly stated that he has chosen to forgive Karmelo. Mr. Metcalf has made some awful statements after the verdict was handed down. So I think he really needs to figure out which side of the scale he is on, because it seems that he was operating from a very racial state. But we will continue.